Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Ray Law International channel, our monthly live stream. Thank you for joining us today. And today we have a lot of topics we're going to cover, but always remember this time is for you guys to ask questions. We really want our audience to, we really want to interact with our audience. And that's why we do these every month, and we're so glad. So if you're joining us, go ahead and put a shout out there. Let us know where you're from. And if you have questions, you definitely want to go ahead and queue up, because although we have some questions already prepared, you know, other people are going to jump in and have their questions, and you don't want to miss out. So my name is Anthony Ray. I'm one of the immigration attorneys here at Ray Law International. And hopefully everyone's having a great summer. I know we are. We're looking forward to all your questions. I'm going to turn it over to Lauren for a brief introduction. Go ahead, Lauren.
Hello, my name is Lauren. I'm one of the attorneys here at Ray Law. Like Anthony said, we have a lot of different types of questions today, just about different types of visas that you could potentially use. But again, if you have any questions, put them in the chat. We'd be happy to help you. Otherwise, we will go through and hopefully something resonates with you. And then we'll also have the phone number at the bottom of the screen and email if you'd like to contact us directly. Saki?
Good morning from Chicago. I'm still waking up. The coffee didn't help me enough. Today's weather is sunny in Chicago. It's 83 degrees. Perfect. Love it. No complaints. So today, yes, we're going to talk about so many different visas, and then I'm going to speak Japanese a little bit. おはようございます。シカゴ事務所の佐田池です。本日は、非移民ビザですね。様々なビザがございますので、一つ一つよく聞かれる質問などを答えていきたいと思います。もしご質問等ございましたら、このライブストリームのチャット、もしくは、下に出てます、電話番号、もしくは E メールアドレスの方にご連絡いただければと思います。よろしくお願いいたします。Okay, are you guys ready?
Absolutely. Let's get started.
Okay, the first question is to Anthony. What is non-immigrant visa, and then is it the same as an immigrant visa?
Great question. A lot of people get this confused because we always just say visa for everything. It's really simple to label something as a visa. Of course, technically on a legal terminology, we have two types. One, you can think of as temporarily coming to the US, and the second is permanent. Okay, so things that are temporary, we call non-immigrant, meaning you're not coming here permanently. For those people who are coming permanently, we call that immigrant. Okay, so these are two completely separate immigration terminologies and focus and results that you're going to get. The good thing about it is, as long as you plan in advance, you'll know which one you're going to deal with. And when you're working with the professional, we're going to make sure that we choose the correct one. There's many types of non-immigrant visas, and we're going to talk a lot about those today. But also immigrant visas, there's a lot of options under the immigrant visa category. So no, not the same, very different, but sometimes they overlap, and work together. So sometimes you're going to need both.
All right, thank you. Next question is to Lauren. So I work for a church. Can I apply for an R visa, religion visa, through my church?
The short answer is yes. You can definitely do that. There are some positions, if you work as a janitor for your church, you're not really doing any religious work and you're not supporting religious work, you might not be able to get an R visa for that type of position. However, if you do any sort of religious work, if you do support religious workers, you can definitely get an R visa, enter the US, and then work for the US version of your church. If there's no US version for your church, you may run into some issues. You do need a US petitioner. So if there's maybe an affiliated church that could sponsor you, definitely look into that. It doesn't necessarily need to be the exact same entity as long as you are in the same sort of religion or same type of worship. So definitely some things you can look into. We do our visas pretty frequently, so we do have some knowledge on this topic. You can definitely give us a call if that's something you're interested in.
All right, thank you, Lauren. Next question is to Anthony. My Mexican brother is an engineer and obtained the TN visa. I am a computer programmer. Can I also obtain a TN visa?
Thank you for that question, Saki. Remember, to the audience out there, go ahead and put those questions in the chat. We'll get to them as soon as we can. I'm going to turn my attention to this question. Engineers. So any jobs that are professionals under the TN category usually fits within the categories that is prescribed. Now, under the TN, there's a treaty and there's a list of positions where that qualify. So most of the positions, if engineers, scientists, accountants, all of those positions are going to be clearly labeled out in the treaty and in the regulations. So in this situation, absolutely, computer programmer can be. It also depends on the position and the requirements, but it can definitely meet the requirements for the TN visa. Now, you always want to make sure that you get the assistance of a professional. You don't want to show up the port of entry and or in this case for Mexican nationals, apply for a visa and have it denied. But there are various categories. Work with a professional to avoid any problems, okay? And so absolutely, computer programmers, there's a whole list. We're going to be looking at the job duties and that are required for the position to make sure it is specifically computer programmer or something similar like programmer analyst or systems analyst or database analyst. So there's a lot of options under the IT fields.
Thank you. All right, next question is to Lauren. What is the H1B visa? And is it more beneficial than TN visa?
So the H1B visa is a visa for professionals. There is a lottery once a year, and if you are selected in that lottery, you can enter the U.S. and begin working for a U.S. employer in a professional position. By professional, generally we mean someone with a bachelor's degree or equivalent. Obviously, master's or PhD would also be included under this category. So is it more beneficial than a TN visa? It depends. The H1B visa is dual intent, so you don't have to worry about if you want to apply for a green card, any sort of status issue. It also has 3-year validity, whereas sometimes, especially if you're a Mexican national and you're just going and getting your visas through the consulate, those consular visas are often only valid for 1 year, which can be a little bit annoying, whereas an H-1B visa is going to be valid for much longer. However, the TN visa doesn't have a time limit. H-1B visa is only valid for 6 years, unless certain nationals of certain countries can extend beyond that if they qualify. They have, it's called an I-140 approval notice, but for most people, they're only going to be able to do 6 years, whereas the TN, you can kind of indefinitely do it as long as you don't have that ultimate immigrant intent and you do intend to return to your home country. So there's certainly pros and cons to both. Sometimes TN can be a bit easier to apply. There's maybe more scrutiny on some H-1B visas. So it really depends. Definitely talk to an attorney to figure out which visa is better for you. and TN unfortunately is only available for Mexican and Canadian nationals. So if you're not a member of one of those countries and you're a professional, then you're pretty much stuck with the H1B. Maybe you're an L or an E, but again, talk to an attorney because there's usually more than one option. Saki?
All right, thank you. The next question is to Anthony. I have a B1 business visitor visa. Can I come to the United States to work?
Absolutely. We will talk about that in just a second. So those who are watching, even if your question is not related to non-immigrant visas, go ahead and put that question or comment in the chat. Let us know that you're out there. Let us know where you are from and that you're out there. Just say hi, shout out to us. Now, can you work on a B1? Simple answer is if you just take the strict word of work, no, you can't. So if you want to come to the US and start working for a company, no, you cannot use the B1. That's not what the B1 is for. Now, what is the B1? The B1 is a business visitor. And the regulations and the USCIS has established what is, what duties, what actions, what activities is allowed or permissible under the B1. Things such as attending sales meetings or attending a conference. What else? Maybe you're doing training for your company. The B1 is ideal for that. And there's several other things. Maybe you're coming to sign a contract. Maybe you're coming to interview people. Maybe you're coming to set up your business. These are all wonderful, perfect examples of using the B1 to come over. But work is different. Now, if you're coming over and you need to get the manufacturing line up and running because something went wrong, the B1 is not permissible. Work is not permissible. That's work. Now, a lot of people say, well, I'm not getting paid. So, technically, is that work? So what's going to happen is they're not going to look at whether you're going to get paid or not. While that is a strong element, you can tell them, no, I'm not going to get paid, but they're going to be asking more questions at the port of entry. CBP knows what they're looking for. They know, they've dealt with all the countries around the world. You will not have been the first. So don't think that you can pull one over on CBP. They will question, they will contact your employer, they will check everything. And if there's even a hint that you may be involved in active work, or you misspeak, or, just a slip of the tongue, that's it. You're going to get denied. They're going to put you back on the plane, take your credit card, run it for the airline ticket, and send you back. And it's going to be a nightmare. So one of the things I always recommend to our companies and people in this situation is plan ahead. Talk to an immigration attorney, do a consultation. It's much rather, pay a couple $300 for a consultation rather than, $2,000 or $3,000 for a return airplane ticket and not accomplishing your goal or mission. We're here to help you reach that. So work under the B1? No. If we can get into the technicalities of that, but, don't try to push the envelope on this issue. All right. So no work for B1.
Thank you, Anthony. Next question is to Lauren. I am an award-winning international hot dog eating champion. I live in Chicago, so I say hot dog. I hope I said it right. Is there a visa I can obtain to participate in the contest in the USA?
Yeah, so this is a funny question, but yes, there is a visa that may work. The O1 visa is for kind of exceptional people with exceptional ability in their field. So perhaps you could make the argument that this person is an award-winning international hot dog eating champion. So they are, they've already established their success, I guess, in the field. So, there's definitely an argument to be made that this person could come into the U.S., participate in a contest or contests, and go from there. So the O1 visa, it can cover athletes, it can cover scientists, it can cover really anybody as long as they have that exceptional ability in their field. It's, you really do have to have a good resume. So award-winning international hot dog eating champion, perhaps, yes. I know there are competitions like this, so I don't watch them because I think it's gross to watch people eat that much. I don't like that, but to each his own. So sake. There you go.
Thank you, Lauren. All right, next question is to Anthony. My sister and her children obtained a U visa. They should be happy, but my sister said she wishes she didn't have to apply for the U visa. Can you tell me what a U visa is?
Absolutely. You know, the good thing about our immigration system is we do have pretty much a visa category for just about everything you can think about under the sun. Unfortunately, it does cover even those situations when it's not a happy situation. Sometimes it's domestic violence, sometimes you're a victim of a crime, and sometimes you're supporting the government in an investigation regarding a crime. So there are special visa categories that address sort of the not so glamorous side of immigration. So the U visa is for individuals and related family members who are victims of certain crimes. Now, prime example is domestic violence. And we have a foreign national, for example, who's a victim of domestic violence. Then there's a police report filed. You don't have to have a police report filed, but those are really strong and helpful things to have. And then basically the person can make application and then go ahead and get approved for a green card because they were a victim of a crime. There is a huge backlog, but when done properly, it's going to grant you the protection that you and the survivors of the crime will definitely need. We've done many of these. We really are compassionate for people in this situation. It does take time, so it's good to have an attorney you trust and can work with for the long term. And when I say it takes a long time, right now, the backlogs, you may be looking at 2 to 3 years. Okay. Now, dependents such as children can also benefit from this as well. They're not going to be left out, so you don't need to leave your family. So this might be one reason why the person's not so happy, because they were just a victim of a crime and it's very serious. So what I want to do briefly is just show you the, if I can, let me see if I can do this. Now, I'm going to have to keep everyone on. Oh, actually, we can do this. Great. So this is a list on the USCIS website that you can look at and see. I mean, it's awful stuff, not just domestic violence, but blackmail, felonious assault, hostage, incest, involuntary servitude, kidnapping, torture. I mean, these are really serious crimes. Most likely in your state or your area, or at least at the federal level, these are going to be very serious crimes or felonies, which we call them. So if you are unfortunately subject to one of these or have been in the past, there's no time limit on this. So if you've been a victim for, let me get that back up there. If you're a victim of a crime listed here, please call. If you were a minor child and this happened, call. You get the protection you need. Don't stay as an illegal alien or without the protection, because actually in this case, the U.S. government wants to help you. So that's the U visa, and that's probably why the person isn't really happy about it.
All right. Thank you, Anthony. It's good to know that, there is some visa category for protecting people, not just like coming to work or visiting. There's just other option too. All right. Next question is to Lauren. My Canadian husband said an ESTA, visa waiver, and an B2 are the same thing. Are they?
They are very similar, but no, they're not the same thing. So ESTA and visa waiver are discussing the same thing. You use the ESTA system to obtain a visa waiver, so people kind of use them interchangeably, whereas a B2 is a physical visa in your passport. So one is waiving the visa. The US says people from certain countries who don't have criminal backgrounds or other issues with their application don't need a visa. They can come to the US for 90 days for tourist or business purposes, and there's no issues. A B2 visa is a tourist visa. So you would go to the consulate, have an interview, get a stamp in your passport. The B2, however, is going to be valid for 10 years. And every time you come in, they will give you an I-94 for about 6 months, whereas the ESTA/visa waiver is only going to give you 90 days. So it really depends on your tourist purpose, how often you're going to be coming in, things like that to decide what you need. Most people, if they're eligible, are just going to use ESTA or the visa waiver. It's just easier, it's cheaper. But certain people, even if they're eligible, it may make sense that B1, B2 would be a better option for them. Also, certain people who aren't eligible for ESTA, maybe they have some sort of minor crime in their background where they're not eligible for that easy online ESTA application. They have to go to the consulate, get interviewed, and then maybe they would be issued a B2 visa. This is depending on the crime, as long as it's some sort of minor crime. So they're similar but different. Again, as I always say, talk to an attorney. You can call Saki and she'll tell you some jokes and give you some advice. Saki?
I don't think I have that many jokes. Anyway, okay, let's go to the next question. This one's to Anthony. I intend to change to an H1B visa after my J1 visa expires. Will I have issues?
Very good question, and it all depends. What does it depend on? It depends on what is on your J1, let me double check. Yep, your J1 visa stamp. It'll also apply to the J2, which is for dependents. Now, if you're not familiar, the J1 is for exchange visitors, and there's various categories from teachers, to students, to cultural exchange programs, to research. All kinds of things can be used for the J1. Now, for many J1 visas, when you look on your visa stamp, it'll say whether you are or are not subject to what's called a 2-year foreign residency requirement. Now, sometimes the visa stamp has the regulation code number there. So whether it has the code number or whether it says explicitly that you are or not, so just look, are you subject to or are you not? If you are not subject to a 2-year foreign residency requirement, then absolutely you can change status to H1B. If you are subject to the 2-year foreign residency requirement, no, you can. But with everything in law, there's always an exception. So if you don't meet the exception, we'll get that to that in a second. But initially, what happens if you're subject to the 2-year foreign residency requirement, then you would have to return to your country, wait a complete year, and then after you complete that year, file for an H1B or change to an H1B. Now, not curious, there's a couple types of H1Bs out there. Some H1Bs, which are connected to universities, there's no cap. You can file those anytime. Other H1Bs, you got to initially get approved for one. So make sure there's a couple options. That's what we love about law. That's why we went to law school, is all these various options and the twists and turns of immigration law, which Google can't always answer specifically for your case. So typically, if you are subject to the 2-year foreign residency requirement, there's an exception. That exception is what we use or we call a waiver. So under certain circumstances, you can get a J1 waiver. Now, mind you, it takes time. So if you're subject to it, start the process early. There's certain things for getting the waiver, such as hardship, or you can get a no objection letter from the program or the country that has placed this restriction on your J1 visa. So there's a lot of issues that you're going to have to look into. So definitely, whether you're subject to or not, touch base with a professional. All too often, you don't go and just do your own medical diagnosis and, treat yourself with medicine. You always see a professional, just like your accountant, just like, if you're dealing with medicine or other things, your, taxes, you want someone to guide you. Yes, it costs money, but it's going to save you time, heartache, headaches, and everything else that comes along with trying to do it all yourself or trying to get Google to walk you through the whole immigration process.
All right. Thank you, Anthony. Okay, so we went to halfway now. You know what that means? It's a coffee time. A little break time. All right, so since it's summertime, let's talk about the vacations. But this topic is interesting. What was your worst vacation experience, Anthony?
Oh, I get to go first again, I see. We can change it up next time. But anyways, I'm going to use a recent worst vacation. I probably had a couple. And, normally we're not supposed to disclose health things in the US, but this one's okay. I don't care. So 2 things. And if you guys out there have an opinion, you want to go ahead, put it in the chat. If you disagree with me, perfectly fine. But first of all, I love to cruise. I love cruising. And I usually use Royal Caribbean. That's my cruise line of choice. But there was a couple islands I wanted to go to, and during the time frame, I had to go to Carnival. Now, Carnival and Royal Caribbean are totally different, and in many ways. And I took the Carnival Horizon when it was probably a couple years ago, right before the pandemic. And 2 bad experiences. One, the cruise experience, and then the second thing that happened was I had shingles out of nowhere. So that even made the cruise even worse. So the problem I had with Carnival Horizon, and anyone out there ever cruise, let me know. Maybe you had a great experience. I didn't. The food was just awful. I mean, when compared to Royal Caribbean, I didn't want to eat. I probably lost weight, which I probably do anyways, but it was just that bad. I did not want to eat. I even ordered the specialty steak, and that came back cold. And it was just all around a bad experience. Then on top of that, all these bumps started coming up, and being a guy, it's like, oh, I don't need to go to the doctor on the ship. And it was a little itchy. We got some cream and put something on, and I didn't know it was shingle. And of course I waited like 4 days. This is like a 6 or 7 day cruise. And so I finally went down, and the lady's like, oh my God, you got shingles. And I'm like, are you in pain? It's like, no pain. I mean, we had cream and everything, so it wasn't painful. But of course, with shingles and all the all the bumps and stuff, it was just disgusting. So that, with the food issue and everything, it was really, really one of the worst vacations I had. And, I mean, there's little you can do for the shingles and in that situation. But that was one of the trips where I had a very bad experience.
How many trips have you been on that have a bad experience?
A couple. I'll save the others for next time.
I don't really have any really bad vacation experiences.
That's good.
I guess when I was in college, we went on like a typical spring break trip and had a million people in a little, I wouldn't say it's a hotel room, but a combined area, like connected rooms, a little kitchenette. So that was a little uncomfortable driving a million hours down to Florida, and my friend who's driving is just putting the Sirius XM pop station on, which just replays the same songs over and over and over again. So that was a little bit painful, I guess, that drive down and just having everybody crammed in the room. But if you're in college, you don't mind as much, and it's still a lot of fun to be on the beach and see some concerts and be stupid. So what about you, Saki?
I usually have so many unfortunate things during any vacation, so it's harder to like look for like peaceful vacations. So
Just choose one, Saki.
I always like tell everyone that every time when I go back to Japan, there's always disaster happens. So the last time when I was in Japan was like long time ago. I mean, before the COVID. And I was only there for like 2 weeks. Only 2 weeks. And then during the 2 weeks, the earthquake happened. And then I was in the middle of, like, it was a midnight, and I woke up because those alarm sounds. And then right after that, everything's so shaking so heartily. And I was like, geez, like I'm just on vacation. Like, can I just have a vacation? you know. But luckily, no one died in my family. Everything was okay. It was a big earthquake I ever experienced before. But yeah, and then and after that, I was going for the business trip to Japan again, and then the COVID happened, and I couldn't even go to the Japan. So this year, finally, I'm planning to go in Japan again. Hopefully, nothing happens and peaceful vacation I can have. So that's my wish. All right.
Sure it'll work out.
Yep. Okay, so I guess I'm awake now. Going back to the question time. All right. Next question is Anthony. What is the difference between F and M student visa?
All right. Before I get to the F and M visa categories, all you guys out there, let us know where you're from. Go ahead, put those questions in the chat. This is your chance, not just to listen to us talk about immigration, but I'm sure, if you came and you connected, you probably had some immigration questions. So we really, really want to hear from you guys, find out what's going on. Maybe you have something that you want to celebrate. Maybe you got citizenship, or maybe you got your green card. Feel free to put that in the chat. Let us know. We want to rejoice with you. We also want to see what we can do to kind of give you a little insight and guidance. You can always feel free. We're going to put on the screen the actual contact information. So feel free to email us, call. You can call during this video chat. Or this live stream, or later, it doesn't matter. We're going to be available to do that for you. There it is, the numbers right there, and the email. So feel free to reach out to us. We're ready to help you guys out. So, all right, F and M visas. So the F1, as many people know, which is one of the most popular visa categories, is a student visa. If you're coming to the United States to study in pretty much any category, you can obtain an F1 visa stamp. Now, family members, such as dependents, a spouse or a child, they're going to get F2. All right. And a lot of people use this. It can be expensive because you got to have the tuition and proof that you can pay the tuition, but it is a good category. One of the caveats regarding the F1, depending on your situation, you want to get that F1 visa stamp in your home country before you come in. If you're already in the United States, changing status to F1 can take a pretty long time. So, and when I say a long time, it can take up to a year. And depending on your university and their policies, they may make you wait before you can start your studies. So look into both options and find out which one is quicker. Even though it may cost you an airline ticket to go back and get a visa stamp, it may, get you closer to your goals, which is get a degree, get a job, work here in the U.S., and kind of enjoy the life here in the U.S. What's the M visa? The M visa is also a student visa, but it's more focused on trades. Think of a mechanic. I often think of we have a lot of trucks here in the US. Of course, everyone does around the world, but someone's got to repair all those trucks. So someone who provides service. Maybe you're a mechanic doing race cars or motorcycles. There's all kinds of trades. So the M1 visa category are for those individuals who are not coming here to get a 4-year degree or a master's degree or a particular degree. Maybe they're just coming here to get a skill. Electrician, plumbing, whatever it may be, the M1 visa category is for you. Now, I haven't seen a lot. There's probably not a lot, but it is available, and most likely a lot of the trades, maybe unions, will use the M1 quite heavily because they're going to need people. Right now, everyone knows there's a worker shortage. A lot of people just retired and retired for good. So, we are, everywhere you look, now hiring. Just everywhere people are looking to hire good people. So those are the difference, F1 and M1 student visas, but really two different things. All right.
Thank you, Anthony. Next question is to Lauren. I want to bring my fiance to the United States so we can marry. Can they come with their B2 visa, visitor visa instead?
So the answer to this is no. If someone has an intent to come and get married and remain in the US, they cannot come with the B2 because the B2 is a tourist visa. So you would need to obtain a fiance visa first, have them get the proper visa, have them go to the consulate, get the visa and enter. Then you can marry and they can get the green card. Now, if you're not sure if you're planning to propose and they're not here yet, they come in and their intent is a tourist intent. Maybe things change once that they're here, you propose, or some sort of circumstances change. Maybe their intent changes. They did intend to come on a B2 visa and just stay and leave. Then minds change, things happen. You guys are engaged now. They want to stay here. Well, once they're here, yes, you can get married and apply for a green card. We always recommend waiting at least 90 days, even if your mind only changes after 30 days. Just still wait. As long as they're here legally, still wait, and they can apply for a green card after that. Otherwise, you can have them visit if they intend to leave. If they're your fiance, they're just coming to visit. Eventually, you're going to get married and maybe live here, maybe live abroad. They will have to demonstrate to the CBP officer, though, if asked, that yes, they do have that intent to leave. They're not going to overstay. CBP is very interested in people who have fiancés here because that's a big red flag for them that someone might overstay the visa. So you should be prepared for that if they do want to come in and then leave. So they really do have tourist intent. So again, this is really important. You don't want someone to be denied at the border. You don't want, if they overstay or something like that, to impact their status. So always double check with an attorney the plan you may have to be sure that your fiance is not going to get in any trouble and everything will go smoothly. Saki.
All right. Thank you, Lauren. Next question is to Anthony. I am a legal permanent resident. Why doesn't CBP give me an I-94 anymore?
Very good question. And this is a regulation that was put down by CBP. I don't have the exact date. I don't want to, misquote, but, they stopped doing this. One of the main reasons is, you're a permanent resident. The I-94 allows you to let you know your status of how long you can stay here. If you're permanently here, the I-94 is not really necessary in order for you to show that you're staying here. That's what the card is doing. Also, CBP has really done or improved their systems electronically. Okay, so they're, not just for green card holders, a lot has gone digitally. As you may already know, you get your I-94 online in most cases. So with everything going to electronic format, there's less of a need for it. Also, you're here permanently, okay? Doesn't make too much sense to put that on there. Now, there are certain circumstances where the CBP or the USCIS will use an I-94 card to, evidence your lawful permanent resident status. And certain situations, for example, if you have a conditional green card and the process is taking too long and you don't have a green card, you can get what's called an I-551 stamp, either in your passport or on an I-94 arrival and departure card in order to evidence your status. Sometimes that's very crucial for people working or traveling. But basically, there's no need for it. CBP said we don't need to do it. Also, be mindful, CBP is rolling out some apps. They're trying to get people to use their mobile app, which is good. Hopefully, the USCIS and the rest of the Department of Homeland Security will continue to move towards electronic processing. Right now, they still use a lot of filing, but CBP also has a mobile app out there, so you're going to want to check that out as well. It's going to be very convenient. Okay.
All right. Thank you, Anthony. Next question is to Lauren. I own a manufacturing plant in Japan. I want to expand my market reach to the United States by building a new factory in Illinois. Can I get a visa?
Yes, there are a number of visas that this hypothetical individual could use to get a visa. You can do an L visa. So if you've been working at your company for over 1 year abroad I'm assuming this is a managerial or executive position because they're owning the plant, you are allowed to use the L visa to start a business in the US. Now, there's going to be a lot of scrutiny on that petition, a lot more documents needed than a regular L petition because you don't have your business here yet. So how do they know that you're going to actually be working? But, business plan, you can have leases for your factory, partnerships, things like that to convince the USCIS that this is a legitimate enterprise. You can also do an E visa. So E1 or E2, so those are treaty, trader, or investment visas. Depending on, new factory would probably be a pretty big investment. Japan is a member of a treaty that you can get that type of visa. Or potentially you could even do an EB5 visa. That's an investor for a significant amount of money, usually used for one person, but if it can work, you can do your plant and then also get a visa. I don't know that it would be the best option for a Japanese national because that's to get a green card as well, visa then green card. For Japanese nationals, the other categories go just as fast or faster. People from other countries, maybe a Chinese national, really like that category if they have the money to invest in a business. So yeah, a lot of options, definitely going to be more scrutiny no matter what visa because it is a new enterprise, but definitely can be done. Saki?
All right. Thank you, Lauren. Next question is to Anthony. I need to transfer a high-level managing employee from our Germany parent company to our U.S. office in Michigan. What visa would he need?
Well, this employee is going to have several options. And depending on the organization of the German company, both the parent company and the US company, it's going to vary slightly. A couple of them, which I will mention today, is one is the E visa, which Lauren touched on, and also the L. Depending on the person's background, we can also possibly look at an O visa, depending on their background and what they have accomplished in the past. So regarding the E visa, Germany does have a treaty with the US that authorizes the E1 and E2. E1 is for treaty trade, where there's sufficient trade between the US and Germany. The E2 is for treaty investor, if the German entity has invested substantially into the US, into their company. So under the E1, you can come over under the executive, as an executive, as a manager, or if the person is an essential employee. There's 3 categories that person can come under. So really what we want to do is take a look at the resume, the accomplishments, all the details, salary, to see if the E category is a good fit for the company. The next category is the L visa. Typically, this type of individual fit under the L1A, whether that's executive or managerial. Again, depends on the organization of the company and who that person oversees or what department that person oversees. Managerial can be manager of a professional. It could be our traditional 3-tier managerial system, manager, assistant manager, and then employees. Or it may be a manager that's what we call a functional manager. That person may not have any direct employees. However, they're managing a department or a certain critical function of the business. And then finally, let's look at the O category. If this person is spectacular or accomplished, something very significant and demands a high salary, we could also possibly consider the O visa category as this person in business. Let's say they took the company from 50 million to 200 million overnight, or the person has developed some kind of process or program that's outstanding or is used globally. I mean, there's a ton of things that can be used for the O category. So, if E or L are not available, which normally they are, the O visa can also be very, very helpful as an option in your immigration toolbox.
All right. Thank you, Anthony. Next question is to Lauren. I have a seasonal summer need of farm hands to help me care for my farm animals. What visa should I obtain for foreign workers?
I didn't know you had farm animals.
Did I say? What did I say?
Oh, nothing. It's the way it's worded. You said I have a seasonal need for farm hands.
Oh.
Bad joke. Yeah, you can. This person, Saki, can do what's called the H2A visa. This is, I don't know why I'm blurry all of a sudden. I messed it up. This visa is for basically, farm workers who can come in. This question is written exactly how the visa is intended to be used. It's a seasonal visa. These people should come in just for the summer. There are ways to extend this visa if needed, if perhaps something happens and they need to stay a bit longer. But in general, you can bring people in every year. I don't know why farm animals would only need care in the summer usually, but hey, I don't know. Maybe it's a circus or something like that. So yes, you could definitely use the H2A visa and bring people in to care for your animals. Saki?
All right. Thank you, Lauren. The next question is to Anthony. All right. I came to the US with a B2 visa with intent to return to my country. But I met the love of my life and decided to stay and become a permanent resident. Will the USCIS question my immigrant intent? If it's for love?
Very good question. Just a second. Let me pull. All right. So love does cause us to do crazy things, and changing our intent is one of those things. So yes, you can, but timing is going to be all relevant. I often tell people, you know, immigration, even though you may qualify, all timing is one of the greatest issues or challenges. We're in such a generation where we expect things to happen overnight or quicker. I think probably in the last few months, we've had clients just say, hey, can we make this go quicker? Can we make this go quicker? Everyone's trying to get things to move quicker. So timing is important. So as Lauren mentioned earlier in our discussion today, when you come in a B1 or B2 in this case, which is a visitor for pleasure, you have an intent to return to your home country, and that's perfectly fine. Now, the government does, or USCIS does allow you to change that intent. Now, typically, standard is an unwritten rule, but if you wait 90 days, it's okay. The government will allow you to change your intent. Usually for us, I've seen no problems between 60 and 90 days. If it's shorter than that, then the government USCIS officer at the interview with the couple may start to question the true intent. Key is get a professional, document it, get good guidance so that you aren't put under, the lamp and be sweating and everything. Oh no, are they going to deny my case because, we got married too soon or we filed too quickly. So always work with a professional. Even if you do file after the 90 days and you've changed your intent, the USCIS does have the authority to question whether you had the proper intent. Okay, so always document or have a good reason for why and how you changed your intent, when you made that intent change, and you just want to make sure that it is clear to the immigration officer. You don't want to be in the middle of an interview and have them doubt your true intent when you came in and that you changed it. So allow time for that. So that's how most people would address this issue. All right. Do we have any other questions, Saki?
Nope, I think we covered it all today.
If anyone out there still has any questions, you got like 1 or 2 minutes while I wrap up. We want to take time to just thank you for joining us today, and hopefully you learned something. And if you didn't get your question answered from this dialogue or communication, feel free to reach out to us. All that information is scrolling at the bottom of the screen. You can, of course, watch the video again. It'll be uploaded and available to you. And you can just write that down and reach out to us. We'll be waiting to take care of you, okay? Anything else from anybody? All right, you guys. I want to thank everyone for joining us, and that is all for today. You guys have a great week, and we'll see you next month. There will be other videos and things that we'll be releasing, so go ahead, subscribe. Make sure you check that bell, and so that you'll be notified when new videos and information is released. Thank you for joining us. From all of us here at Ray Law International, have a great July, and we'll see you guys in August.